television and put on the weather. Then I've trained myself to give up on the past, cause I've frozen time between hearses and caskets. Lost control when I panicked at the acid test. I wanna get better.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for Muscatine Viewpoint. My name is Naomi DeWinter, and I serve as the president of Muscatine Community College. I'm sitting in tonight for your usual host, Chad Bishop. We have an exciting program for you. We'll be interviewing Carrie Dennison and Larry Murray, both running for Muscatine City Council, and we're looking forward to several minutes of learning about their positions and how they feel they can improve our beautiful city of Muscatine. Before we get started, I do want to invite all of the viewers to an event the college is hosting next week, Tuesday, October 24th. It's United Nations Day and also World Polio Day. And I should mention here that the Muscatine Rotary Club is hosting an event at Hy-Vee and also at Fairway on the 24th, letting people know about the campaign to eradicate polio. But the event coming up at the college will be at 6 p.m. in the Student Center. It is free and open to the public. We will be bringing in Ambassador Susan Rice, who will be talking about U.S.-Sino relations, as well as a speaker, Alan Barber, who has a great expertise in China business relations. So if you have an interest in learning about the political climate, the cultural climate, business climate in China and how that relates to U.S., please join us 6 o'clock, October 24th in the Student Center. Now to my guests tonight who are running for Muscatine City Council. We'll start with Larry Murray, who is running for a seat on the 4th Ward. And tell us, Larry, why you decided to put your head into this race and what your campaign has been like so far.
I decided back in May, after shooting around with family and friends, discussing the idea, and my main goal was to show my oldest, who's 13, that it's important to come up with solutions and to not hide behind laptops and phones, and that was my main thing because he just got Facebook this year as a reward, and I wanted to show him that just being on the internet and typing there doesn't really solve any problems. Being more interactive and trying to step up when no one else at that time was running at the time when I decided to do this, and I didn't officially announce yet. So that was my goal, is to teach him, what to do and how to do it, and to make a, a positive impact. He was at my meet and greet last Saturday, and I made him come down and introduce himself and understand how people have concerns, and everybody has issues in different areas of the town. And he got to meet the mayor, she was there, and some other candidates were there. And so it was just a good learning experience. I mean, he's getting into that age where they're going to have student council at high school and everything. So it's just something to get him involved, and that was my main goal. And that's what I'm trying to teach him is, if you want to do it, do it. And he helped design my sign. I picked the colors out to show him that we're running for Muscatine, not for a party, because I'm not affiliated with any party. I'm non-party. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing, and that's what I wanted to show him. So. Mm-hmm.
Is this your first experience in public office?
Yeah, okay. For running, it'd be my first time doing it, so.
Yep. Okay. All right, let me introduce to you Carrie Dennison, who's running for an at-large seat on the City Council. Carrie, what should we know about you? And tell us a little bit about your campaign so far.
Well, thank you for having me here tonight. I say too much, by the way, but first I want to thank you for having me here, and I want to thank everybody for running. It's so neat that so many people have stepped up, and there's younger people stepping up like Larry and Kelsey, and people stepping up wanting to get involved, and whether any of us prevail, I hope everybody continues to be involved and stays involved. I was involved in city government in various ways in Marion, Iowa, and Cedar Rapids. And I actually ran for city council in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, back in like 1997. I learned a hard lesson about filing nomination papers. I had an issue with my nomination papers, and after getting 1,200 and some signatures, I did not get on the ballot. So it was a lesson learned, and I always thought about getting back to it. But things happen, your life changes. I ended up here in Muscatine and met an incredible woman and who convinced me this should be my new home, and now pretty much tells me this is my new home. So I'm trying to put my roots down. I'm trying to get involved, and I have been. I help out with various causes here locally, and I've been coaching here. And after the last election, I've noticed during the elections, we have all these people running unopposed. That's, people not having choices is not maybe the most democratic thing. You know, we need to have choices. And, you know, so I commend the people that did step up and run and are serving. I mean, they were at least willing to step up, and, you know, whether we agree with them or not, they stepped up, and I think for the most part, most of the time they're trying to do what's best for Muscatine. But when I saw that, I told my wife after the last election that last year would probably be my last year coaching football. And I was probably going to get more involved in some other things. So I started thinking about running for office. Then all the mayor problems, you know, the mayor removal hearing stuff started, and a lot of that stuff came to light. And so I started having second thoughts about whether I wanted to dive into that or not. Or the timing was right. But I decided I was going to go ahead and go for it. So it's been neat. You know, since I moved here, I've met so many amazing people. But this town is full of amazing people that go above and beyond. You know, I saw so many teachers and coaches and that go above and beyond with the kids and helping them and hauling them around, and you know, so I started mentoring some kids and helping, you know, get kids around, you know, which I was inspired by them. It's like, well, I need to step up my game. Look at these people, they're putting me to shame. You know? So, you know, and just people get involved in so many things here. You know, all these, we're supposed to have, last weekend we're supposed to have the Alzheimer's walk, and unfortunately I got rained out, you know, and the people that put together those things, there's a lot of people that are really trying to help people that are probably less fortunate themselves. So I've been really impressed and inspired by those people here, and I hope, you know, I hope that I'm humbled by them, and you know, I hope I aspire to try to do as much as some of these people do. I'll probably fall short. I don't know if I have as much energy as they do, but so anyway, I've been enjoying it. I've talked to so many people and plan on talking to a lot more, and I think what I'm hearing, you know, is people aren't happy about some things that happened, and they want some changes made. So.
So let me ask you a follow-up question. Maybe Larry can take it from here. You've talked to a lot of people. You mentioned a meet and greet just last weekend. What are you hearing from your residents in the 4th Ward and maybe other parts of Muscatine? What are the top 1 or 2 concerns that they are bringing to you that they want help in solving?
The one thing I hear the most is they feel like they don't get heard. They feel neglected down in the 4th Ward. That's something that's pretty common in most people I talk to, especially in my neighborhood and some other parts of the neighborhoods. And no matter what part of the 4th Ward, they just feel like they're neglected. And there's some people, you know, when you go down closer to Fruitland, that's still Muscatine, and people think that's Fruitland. I mean, people just don't understand Muscatine's really stretched out long, and it goes a long ways, and everybody just feels lost sometimes, and you know, they just don't get the attention they thought they should get. So that's the number one answer I get from a lot of people.
Okay. And how do you see yourself solving that concern?
I'm pretty vocal. I'm pretty when I set a goal to do something, I tackle it and I grab the horns and I just go for it. And my loyalty and my outgoing is what's gonna make me stand out, because that's who I am, and I have that ambitious to do that, and I don't mind taking that and spraying it down in the 4th Ward and giving that people what they deserve. I've lived down there for only about 4 or 5 years now. I used to live in the 2nd Ward, and so I mean it's an up and coming community. I mean, I live down on Pond in New Hampshire, and the houses, people take care of their property. They're starting to come alive, and people are proud. They work hard. They work 3rd shift. They work 2nd shift. They work swing shift. I mean, they work hard for what they have down there, and they just want to be noticed. And that was the biggest thing down there.
I read in an article that the Journal did about you earlier this summer that you would like to bring back a grocery store into the 4th Ward. Tell us about that.
I love to see a grocery store go down there, because it's hard to go all the way up to Walmart. It's hard to go to Hy-Vee, and with the construction now, it's hard to get downtown to Hy-Vee Drug Town. I mean, or Main Street. It's hard to get there. And I worked for Sunmart and when I was in high school in Ash Finch, and I worked at the one down south, and I worked one by the fire station downtown. It's a good company. I was sad to see them go. I just want to see a grocery store actually go in there, not a convenience store. I want to see the grocery store with that pharmacy option. I'm not opposed to having a big chain come in. I'd love to see someone local come in. But it's hard to have a local company come in to offer that fresh meat and produce at reasonable, fair price for the citizens down there, because not everybody's, their income's not always high down there. And I don't mind seeing, Oz made a comment Saturday, he'd like to see a small Target, and Walmart offers the Walmart Express, and Hy-Vee obviously has a Main Street, the smaller ones. And I'm not opposed to either one, 3 of those coming down there, as long as they can provide decent jobs and provide the the low prices and deals that the citizens need.
Okay. All right, Kerry, can I ask you the same question? What are you hearing from the people you've talked with? What are the 1 or 2 priorities, and how would you apply your skills to help solve those issues?
Before I answer that question, I want to back up. I want to back up for a minute, because I failed to mention something that I wanted to mention about people going above and beyond and helping people. It was remiss of me to not mention that as a veteran, big fan of our service organizations, our Legion, our VFW, and so when I'm talking about those people that care and give or whatever, Larry's mother is the president of the auxiliary.
She was.
Down at the
she was the
VFW.
state president last 2 years ago.
So I've had the privilege of meeting her, and and they're down there working hard for veterans, and so so I wanted to thank them, and Larry's mother, and the people that are helping people down there.
So I need to put in a plug right here too. Our Phi Theta Kappa organization, our Student Honors Association, is doing a series of events to honor veterans on November 10th on Friday. So we have about 50 vets or students who are affiliated with vets taking classes right now at the Muscatine campus. So there will be a series of events for them, and then in the afternoon we'll have a formal dinner open to community veterans hosted by our Phi Theta Kappa students.
Free food for me?
Yes, yeah, so please come.
I'm going to have to take advantage of that.
And your mom too, yeah. So you want to talk about what you've been hearing, Kerry, the top 1 or 2 priorities?
As I said in my initial press release, and I still find it to be true, outside of the obvious dysfunction we have going on, at City Hall, outside of that, people still are just interested in the core services. That's the biggest thing. Their streets, their sewers, their alleys. I was talking to Oz today, and he's hearing a lot about alleys. So I mean, because I'm at large, I try to talk to a lot of the other candidates what they're hearing in their wards, because I have to kind of be knowledgeable about every ward and what's going on. So I've been talking to other candidates about that. I met with him today, and our fire protection and emergency services and police departments, those core services, they want those the best. They want street signs that you can read, you know, just the basic core services. And sometimes I think our priorities get a little off. We get chasing the shiny objects, you know what I mean? Oh, wouldn't it be great to have this and that or whatever? And it's like, well, we still got to make sure our streets and sewer and everything. You know, we're doing the big sewer project. I'm not saying that we're not doing any of that. I'm just saying, but I'm just telling you what I hear in the streets, and that's still the most important things to people is making sure we're doing really well with those before we start worrying about shiny objects. I don't know what, you know what I mean, other projects and
basics, yeah.
If that makes sense. Besides that, and like I said, the controversy at City Hall, that's the main things I'm hearing, and you know, what I'm hearing from other candidates in their wards. So it seems to be, you know, and that's the most important thing. You know, talking to people in the 4th Ward. You know, they got flooding problems down there. You know, their streets. You know, they just want, you know, good services, and that seems to be and like you said, you know, they feel like they're being neglected at times, and they're not being listened to, and so I will be working with the other councilmen in their wards or whatever to make sure we're addressing those issues. I'm hoping. I don't know why we don't do it here. Everywhere I've been, and I've been around. If you have councilmen or wards, you have ward meetings, so that you're meeting with your constituents once a month in a relaxed atmosphere, talking about what's important to them in a relaxed atmosphere. Sometimes you go down to City Hall and try to be heard, and you feel like you're on trial. You step up to the dais, and the Supreme Court's sitting up there, and they rarely say a word to you. You know, they just sit there and stare at you. And I've spoken there. It's a little unnerving at times. That's a perfect opportunity for them to just come out and get stuff off their chest, and you know, their concerns. And so I'll be encouraging councilmen to start having ward meetings that I will attend. And if there's a councilman that doesn't want to have a ward meeting, I will hold one in his ward. So we need to be talking to people. So.
And you would do that regularly?
Oh, monthly at least.
Once a month?
Monthly,
okay.
probably.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, okay. Let's talk a little bit about the structure. Kerry, you mentioned the controversy over the summer, and as I have read it, some has to do with the structure, I think, of how things are organized. So how would you see things being organized between the city administrator, the mayor, and the city council? Do you feel there's a need to make any changes to that structure?
I'm still open-minded on that. Like I said at the forum, I want to look into it more. Still, being on the outside, you don't know all the details behind the curtains or behind closed doors. And obviously it changed 50 years ago to adapt to the city needs. And like I said at the forum, we are bigger. We're at a $55 million budget now compared to a $2 million budget. You know, so we have grown a lot. And do we need to adapt to change to our needs? Maybe, maybe not. And that's something that we need to look at and make sure we're following all the state laws and codes that we're supposed to be, are set for, you know, mayor, city council members, clerks, administrators, and just make sure we're where we're supposed to be and make sure we're up to current and up to date. And that's where I stand. I don't favor one way or the other yet until I get to really get into there and understand how they're running. The city administrator has a hard job. Is he doing it right and properly? It's not for me to judge him. You always get speculation and people making comments, and that falls back to what I'm trying to teach my son. Don't read everything you see on the internet. It's not always true. There's always two sides of the story, and not knowing both sides, you can't really make a valid and true answer because you're just going to be speculating like everybody else. What we need to do is get the trust back into the public, because right now a lot of people I talk to in all the wards, because I have a lot of people throughout the whole city, they don't have the trust in City Hall between council, the administrator, Some people don't like the mayor, some people do like the mayor, some people like some of the half of city council and some don't like the other half. So we need to get that kiboshed and start focusing on the city itself, because until, like I said in the article in the summer, is the core, my goal is to make sure the core of Muscatine is strong. I want to make sure that every department has their resources and needs, because if we don't have City Hall and the city works on the same page, we're not going to get our streets fixed. And if there's any tension or anything there, we need to get that resolved and we need to move forward. And that's what everybody wants to see. Not really to define their jobs, but to just get everybody on the same page, and maybe everybody will understand what the city administrator will do, what the mayor is supposed to do, what the council members are supposed to do, and then hopefully we can live a little bit better. So.
Well, I think you stated that really well. You know, things are usually more complicated than they seem from the outside, and so until you know all of the details, you have to suspend your judgment in what you think is best. Yeah. Kerry, you want to respond to the question about the structure? Would you foresee any changes that you'd be proposing?
If you've read anything about what I've said since day one, there have been changes made, and somebody today called it or yesterday called it a calling card. My calling card is that I want to restore it the way it was, and eliminate some of this confusion. We have to define some things betterly. That's fine. Some of these changes have funneled more control into the city administrator's hands. In essence, from what I've ascertained from all my research, and I've been researching this for a year, and I have piles and piles of research documents. In my opinion, in essence, with some of the changes they've made, they're trying to change what was established in 1968 as a mayor-council form of government with the city, and they added the city administrator in 1968, and they spelled everything out pretty clearly what that meant and the responsibilities, and they've slowly been changing it and picking parts, changing responsibilities and who has control of this. And so in essence, they're trying to change it to, it appears to me in my research, to more of a council manager form of government with a weak mayor, where the mayor is pretty much just a figurehead. And I'll give you an example. Here's when in 1968, when the administrator position was established, there is a provision that says, and it's under section 112.2. In the original, it says, the city administrator shall be directly responsible to the council for administration of municipal affairs as directed by that body. The departments and agencies that currently report directly to the council shall report to and be responsible to the city administrator. All departmental activity requiring the attention of the council shall be brought before the body by the city administrator, and the council involvement and administration initiated by the council must be coordinated with the city administrator. Nowhere in there does it say anything about elected officials have to talk to the city administrator before they can talk to a department head or somebody else. They didn't even change this properly by code and vote and whatever. They said they were just cleaning up the wording of it, and they changed it to read that any elected official shall deal with the city department heads and employees who are subject to the direction and supervision of the city administrator solely through the city administrator. That appears nowhere in the original code. By adding that, they've basically taken the mayor out of the loop and makes it sound like the mayor is answering to the city administrator. I don't know what universe a chief executive officer answers to an administrator and has to ask an administrator for permission to talk to, people that are under them. Chief executive officer is the top dog. They oversee the whole thing. That's why we vote for a mayor who we trust, that will keep an eye on everybody so everybody's playing fair and following the rules. And we don't need to be changing that. And this is causing problems, along with, how they've taken away the appointment powers and changed those. And the city attorney is under the supervision of the city administrator, those type of things. And there's more. I'm not going to elaborate, but those things need to be changed back to the way they were. And when they voted, they had a public referendum and voted in having a city administrator. Like I said, the people voted for a mayor, council with city administrator. That was the referendum. That's what the voters approved. And the only people that can change that is the voters. Not people just starting to rewrite code to change our form of government. Now they're hiding behind the fact that we are a special charter. So we have more flexibility, and they're kind of, to me, they're kind of hiding behind that with these changes. But if they want to change from city, from mayor to council with administrator to council manager, that is something that needs to be taken before the people.
Okay. I think that you made your position clear on that, and you said that's your calling card. So it's something that you've researched and talked to a lot of people about. Let's talk about a decision that I believe was just recently made. I read about it in the paper by City Council. It has to do with fireworks. So of course Iowa this year was so excited to be able to purchase fireworks, but I believe some limits have been placed on how those can be used. Had you been on the City Council during that vote, how would you have voted to limit fireworks or not limit fireworks? What's your position?
After talking to a lot of people on that also, it's one of those that you're never going to make everybody happy with, no matter what decision you decide. People have brought up about their animals and dogs, and I have German Shepherds, and they went nuts, and you just have to adapt to everyday needs. Banning fireworks 100%, you're still going to have fireworks. I mean, they're going to happen no matter what. So I feel you have to compromise. We need 2 weeks worth of fireworks? No. Maybe if the 4th of July is on a weekend, maybe the 4th of July the day before, maybe. I mean, New Year's Eve is New Year's Eve. It's not Monday through Friday New Year's Eve. It's New Year's Eve. I just feel that you need to allow a day or two worth of fireworks during the 4th of July. The state does allow to sell them, and unfortunately they're going to shoot them off no matter what. Even if you pass law and ban them, they're still going to shoot them. And there's not enough police officers in this town to respond to every call for fireworks. I'm not a big fan of them, but you have to compromise somewhere. But I think 2 weeks worth of shooting them off is too much. I think a day or two during the 4th of July is fair and is compromising. I mean, like I said, you're not going to make anybody happy on it. So.
Good. Okay. Kerry, you want to add to that conversation?
First, I just want to say that I think the law the state passed is one of the dumbest laws I've ever seen, and it was a solution looking for a problem, and as they like to say, I've heard many people say that. And so they passed this law. We decided we gave people the benefit of the doubt they could act responsibly and and try to consider their neighbors and their feelings, and enjoy their hour a night of enjoying their fireworks. And that didn't happen. It was a mess, and it was a mess at my house. I have some issues with it personally, not just from an opinion base, but from I guess psychological perspective also, or also have two old beagles and who we could not get to go out the door for 6-7 days at night. So I had beagles taking care of themselves in the house, and it was just out of control. I was on the phone, or not on the phone, but I was in contact with Chief Talkington at that time about the issues we're having there, and I was in contact with my ward representative plus the at-large councilman, and expressing my feelings about it. And myself, I would have voted for just an outright ban. Go back to what we were doing. There's a few people who light them off illegally, but they kind of stay in the shadows because they know what they're doing, and they normally don't get carried away too bad because they know what the repercussions are. But at most, I would have liked to see it on the 4th of July. It's the 4th of July. It's not the week of July. It's not the 6 weeks of summer. It's the 4th of July. Have the holiday, enjoy it. Have the, couple days off, and picnic with your family, and remember what the holiday is supposed to be about. It's not blowing stuff up. And I'm just not a fan. You should be able to. You have the right to enjoy your property. And you don't have a right to blow up stuff in the city. I mean, you got these dense populated areas with these mortars going off that to me are more professional grade and are causing a lot of injuries. And you can't be firing these things off in the middle of tightly housed neighborhoods. That's crazy. That's why when they light them off, professionally, they do it out on the river where, it can't fall on anybody or people's houses or, burn up buildings. And so I personally would, would like to see the ban, but if they're going to do anything, I would have said just one day, be done with it.
Good. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Muscatine in general. What's one thing that you think makes Muscatine great?
The one thing I had to say about Muscatine is when the community's in need, they pull together. During a tornado, when we had that down south end, everybody pulled together in the neighborhoods, and that's what Muscatine's. I've always, when I've lived here, I moved here in '98, and that's the one thing I've noticed over all the years. There was a bad storm in June of '98, and that was my first, summer here, and we had a lot of downed trees there on Mulberry down there, and it's people pulled together, and that's one thing Muscatine I think should be proud of, is they do stick together, and we have a lot of good benefits. The community pulled together for Hayden's Hero Nights. I mean, the community just pulled together dramatically, and those are the things that I like to see, and that's what Muscatine thrives on. I mean, we have a lot of good stuff around here, but you can't. Putting people first is what Muscatine does. No matter if you have a park or a fancy statue or anything like that, it's the people, and if you don't take care of the people, nothing else really matters. And that's one thing Muscatine should be proud of, is how we take care of each other when the time's in need.
Kerry, what makes Muscatine great?
I have to agree with Larry. I mean, I think it's just the people. I think I elaborated on that when we first started talking. They're just, most Muscatine people are just good, salt of the earth people. They care about they care about kids a lot. In fact, there's what's the Vintner?
Vintner's Dinner?
Vintner's Dinner tomorrow night for Kids First, correct? And I believe my wife and some of her girlfriends they wouldn't let me go.
It's exclusive.
It's a girls' night out. So they didn't want me hanging around with them. So, those type, they care about kids in this town. They really do. And like I said, and just good, salt of the earth people, that pull together, like he said. And I like that when people pull together, they stop worrying about whether somebody's conservative or liberal or a Democrat or Republican, and they just pull together. I mean, Mother Nature isn't biased in any way, shape, and form. Cancer kills indiscriminately. You know, so when we pull together for cancer, nobody's going, well, I'm not, is it a liberal I'm donating to? Or no, they just get together and they put that pettiness aside. And I'd like to see us do that, you know, with pretty much everything. Put this pettiness aside and people pull together and get done what needs to be done. You know, pull together, you know, whether it's, you know, building up our downtown and, you know, or whatever it is. Put this pettiness aside, you know. Tornadoes don't skip over certain people's houses to get to the other one, you know what I mean? That stuff's indiscriminate. We need to be a lot more indiscriminate about how we tackle things, and so I'm going to try to be a big advocate for, you know, putting this pettiness aside and bringing all these good people together. I mean, like I said, I know there's, you know, these people care.
Yeah.
You know, they just, I think, you know, I'm no savior or anything. I'm just somebody who wants to try to be a catalyst for, you know, getting all these good people together so we get some things done. And
so the population of Muscatine, as I understand it, has been about the same since World War II. So we're just under 25,000 people. Hasn't gone up or down in many, many years. Would you like to see it grow, or would you like to see it stay the same?
Are you starting with me?
Yes. Mix it up a little bit.
I'd like to see it grow, but it has to be growing for the right reasons, and you know, and it has to be like controlled growth. You know, we don't want to go, you know, from 23,833 or whatever we were last census, some number like that. You know, the 30,000. You know, our infrastructure couldn't handle that type of change. So, you know, I'd like to see us, you know, move in that direction. But are we growing just to try to increase the tax base so we have more money to spend? Or are we growing because, you know, we have new opportunities for people, and you know what I'm saying? The growth has to make sense. There has to be a rhyme or reason to it. A lot of what they're talking about, I think they're just trying to capture right now, get more housing built. So there's a great need for low-income housing in Muscatine, but just trying to build some stuff so they can try to capture, you know, more taxes, you know, so they have more to spend. I don't know that will create any tax relief to anybody. So, no, but I'd like to see Muscatine grow. I'd like to see our downtown as vibrant as possible, and so when people drive through Muscatine, they drive down 2nd Street or whatever, and they go, "Wow, this is a cool town."
Yeah.
You know, well, there's a lot happening down here, and I like, you know, so I think it could be a good thing if it's done, like I said, if it's for the right reasons and it's done the right way.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Larry? Where do you see Muscatine in terms of growth?
I mean, they annexed Ripley's in a couple years ago, so I mean that was a little bit of a growth technically. I mean, though it's already there. I like to see it grow. I mean, when you stay one way, nothing changes, and you know you need to rotate through, and you need to have fresh ideas and fresh people, and new people bring new ideas and new businesses and new, you know, developments. I like to see them develop in all the wards, because each ward has potential. You know, 5th Ward here, we're endless on the 5th Ward. I mean, we go all the way to Davenport or Bluegrass. You know, 3rd Ward we have a little bit across the bypass. You know, those people don't want to be annexed in, but I like to see, you know, more houses. There's, you know, some fields there, and the 4th Ward has tons of area out there. We have endless area going that way, and if the key is to bring reasonable housing and not, you know, these cookie cutter $500,000 houses. We need to bring houses that are affordable based off our jobs. I mean, most of our jobs run from $10 to $15 an hour for a factory job. They work hard, they work overtime to make ends meet, and they need to be able to afford a house for $80,000, $90,000, and you know, not have these fancy 4-car garages. And you know, they want a nice, solid home to live in, and that's what we need. We need low income, but we also need average income people, average people that work hard, and that's what we're lacking, and that's what we need to have someone think that mentality, not just hear in my opinion, most contractors coming here, they're here to make money. Everybody's here to make money. I understand that, but we need someone here to make money that's here to make us benefit what we need and give us what we were asking for, because we're the customer. You know, Muscatine is the customer when it comes to these contractors, and what we say and what we want is what we need to get. And when we're not getting that sometimes, and we don't have places to live that are reasonable, and that's one thing a lot of people talk about also is, you know, that reasonable income living. So I do want to see it grow. I want to see us expand, bring in some solid jobs. You know, they're talking about the port. You know, that's another thing. There's pros and cons to that, and I stated on that. If we do it right, we make sure we, you know, A to Z, cross our T's, dot our I's. I'm for it. But if we're not going to do it the proper way, I'm not for it. I don't want the headaches. I don't want more money wasted. I don't want low-income jobs. You know, that are just, you know, paying them $10 an hour to, you know, do nothing down there. You know, we do it right, do it solid, and that's what I want to see. Is, you know, I think the comment I made is measure twice, cut once. You know, that's what I want us to see us start doing, and, you know, get it done. So.
We've talked a little bit about jobs and the growth of the community. As the president of the community college, I have to ask you what role you think higher education plays in the vibrancy of the community. So we know that many jobs require education beyond high school now. You know, we've talked a lot about times have changed. There are opportunities available, but they require a different skill set than what may have been sufficient years ago. And that's where a community college can really help to play that role. What would you like to see for MCC? How do we help educate our residents?
Well, first I'd like to say that I've had a lot of people say, and somebody actually said it to me yesterday, that they want the baseball and softball and basketball teams back at Muscatine Community College.
So basketball goes back, I think, about 40 years.
Right. Anyway, but the ball teams especially. I doubt I don't know if that's going to happen, but it gets brought up quite a bit. And you know, I was from the West End of Davenport, and it was great. Their ball teams were really good back then. I mean, it was a great opportunity it was a big deal if you made Muscatine Community College's, you know, ball team back in those days. And I was mentioning this to you before we started tonight, and we're encouraging kids, every kid, you know, they have to go to college or you know, they got no chance. And I don't know that's entirely true. I understand the premise behind it, because, you know, you're trying to get everybody to thrive, to be a good student and get a good education. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody fits in that box, and we have a lot of people going to college and getting incredible amounts of debt, and with very little opportunities to, you know, for good jobs, you know, and paying these things back. I know there's a real need. I was telling you, I have a friend named Jay Ripslinger who I grew up with, and we're very good friends, and he just recently took over as like the maintenance director or manager at Heinz here in Muscatine. And he's been talking about this for years, you know, the shortage of skilled laborers to maintain this machinery. You know, so much is going automated, and so much of it requires, you know, more computer and electronic skills and those type of things. And I think we're missing that segment where we're gearing, you know, some kids or even underemployed, or, you know, people looking better stuff. So I think we need to see a partnership between some of our local industry and Muscatine Community College to set up some programs that maybe, you know, I don't know if there's grants available or if they can help fund it, or, you know, match it or whatever, where we can set up some programs to get our residents trained. I mean, a program just for our residents, not a Muscatine Community College, you know, for anybody. Yeah, just for our residents, get some of these people trained, you know, give them a chance to move up the ladder and into a little better career, you know. And we have I know people in air conditioning refrigeration, and we're not funding too many kids. We're telling everybody to go to college. We're not funding too many kids, you know, the skilled labor positions, and there's a shortage for that. And well, there's good living to be made in a lot of those fields. If you're good at it, you'll do it just fine. And so I'd like to see maybe some of those type of programs worked out where, you know, we're getting. I don't know if Muscatine Community College may do some of those things. I'm not. I haven't paid attention for quite a while. It's been a long time since I thought about going to school. But, so those are, you know, some things I'd like to see happen, and I think it would be beneficial to the businesses here locally because they have shortages in some of those positions that they have a hard time filling, and it also would be benefit to our citizens. So.
You want to add anything to that?
I agree with him 100%. Skilled laborers are falling very low. For MCC, a lot of things in the years past, I'm not sure currently, but a lot of people get frustrated with MCC because they have to go to Clinton or Davenport or Muscatine to finish their classes. And that makes it really hard being in Burlington. I think maybe Burlington too. I'm not sure where you guys are. No, but there's 3 campuses, I think, at least, right? Yeah. And it really makes people step back and go, and then they do those online ones because they need to stay in their home. But a lot of people, me, I don't like online. I like to be face-to-face. But it's hard to drive to Clinton for a 45-minute class or an hour class. And it's just not really beneficial. And then, you know, maybe you'll have that class back then and then it was not offered for another year and a half. And that's where people get frustrated and they just either just give up and go work at Han or something and do nothing to better themselves. And I think that's a lot of, you know, persona that's been shown over the years. And it's just offering more and having, but it's also the same token, can you be able to offer that properly? And, you know, and that's one thing that people get confused about, and not knowing what, you know, where you guys have grown. I mean, you guys added housing in the last 10 years. I mean, you guys have developed a lot and you've added more buildings. So, I mean, people just kind of get lost in the mix in Muscatine and don't know what you have to offer. But then when they do and they see that Clinton or Davenport, they don't want to drive there because of childcare or this and that. And so it makes it kind of hard to finish. You know, if you offer that service, make sure it's available all in that one building that particular time. Maybe next semester not going to be offered here. Maybe it'd be in Davenport, but to mix it up and have to go to 3 different buildings or 3 different campuses is really hard. And that's one thing I like to see kind of be better for MCC, because not just MCC, it's Eastern Iowa, you know, and that's what I like to see.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. Along those lines of what Larry's saying, I mean, is there been more thought about in those type of situations where you have somebody you might be a little hindered, there's been more thought of maybe doing online type things to fulfill those requirements, or is there more of that available?
Yeah, there actually is, yeah. So, one of the things
so people can avoid, that class is only in Clinton.
Right,
and,
yep.
You know, I can't get to Clinton.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Right.
But when you go to those skilled classes, you know, you can only learn so much online. You need to physically be able to put those 2 wires together and actually do it, because anybody can read a book. But when you get put in front of something, they need to be able to do it. You know, there's certain things you can do online, like math, social, you know, government classes. But when you get to those skilled things, you need to make sure they can start from electrical and linemen or whatever. They need to start to finish in one area and make it more convenient, and I think it'll grow more.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, in our last few minutes, I want to give you an opportunity to close with a statement perhaps to the viewers. Why should they vote for Larry? Why should they vote for Kerry? What will you bring to your position if given the opportunity?
You want me to tell them why they should vote for Larry?
Yeah, you vote yes.
And Larry can tell them why they should vote. That'd be interesting.
Number one thing is I want everybody to get out and vote. And that's the one thing I've been stressing most. I don't care if they vote for me or not. I'm not the best candidate. And I said that in the Quad City Times. I'm not the best candidate, but I'm not the worst candidate. I'm honest, I'm hardworking and loyal. But if they want to change, they need to get out and vote. And my biggest concern, if no one votes this year, then no one stepped up and tried to make a difference. And then everybody just needs to simmer down and relax. I just want everybody to get out and vote. That's what I want to see. I want to see people go out, and I want to see, you know, big numbers in the voting polls, regardless of who they vote for. We have 4 of us in the 4th Ward. There's Nadine, Vance, Brian, and myself, and they have good choices down there. So regardless of what happens, Fourth Ward's going to have a change because unfortunately Bob Byam's not running again. But hopefully they step up. And at large, Navig is running again. There's a chance that nothing will change there. But if people want to change, they have a choice. They have Brackett, they have Denison, they have a choice. And then second ward, they have Oz running, they have a choice. And that's what I want to see done. And no matter what I can tell them and put myself up on a pedestal, be realistic and let's just get out and vote. Whoever you think is going to be the best. And I'm here and I'm upfront and honest. I mean, that's one of my biggest qualities, and just trying to show anything can be done. So, your turn.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
I totally agree with Larry. I want people see people get out and vote. With all the things that's happened, I mean, I hope people get out and vote. And plus, I think Larry made a good point that I'll elaborate on. That we have very viable candidates this year. Very viable candidates. We have choices, and I hope that spurs people to step up and get excited and get out and vote. I'd like to see record voter turnouts this election, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have some very viable candidates. I've made friends with most of the candidates. I think everybody that's running is running because they care, and they want to help people, and so that's very encouraging, and I'm excited about it. And, I have two opponents, and I'm friends with them. Mr. Natvig's been, and my wife have gone to the same church together for 35 years. They're a family friend, and I think Scott's a really nice guy. I just disagree with some decisions he made and some votes he made. And Kelsey's a nice young man, and he's a pretty sharp guy, and I hope, regardless of who wins, I hope, everybody keeps going and stays involved. And I got to give a shout out to the hat trick Swayzes. They'll know who I'm talking about. And I just ask you to come out, get out and vote, please, and please vote for me on November 7th. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have two committed candidates who have great ideas for Muscatine, and you heard them. Get out and vote and show your participation and your belief in Muscatine. Join us next week when we'll be interviewing Charlie Harper, who is running for mayor, and we have lots of great shows coming up, and so we thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.